President Trump is still getting under the skin of Canadian politicians and specifically the Canadian Prime Minister. Mark Carney is in full panic mode. He's having an emergency caucus and cabinet meeting in Toronto. You also have the Liberal Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, trying to stick it to Trump, saying we got to stick it to him. We got to stand up to him and hit him where it hurts. It's all very weird how Canada thinks, anyone in Canada, any politician, or even just any citizen in Canada thinks that Canada can legitimately stand up to America. It's bad because then you're programming people to think that thinking that way is okay, and it really isn't. And as we're going to find out in this video, when you fuck around, you're going to find out. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. We're taking a look at the good, if there even is any, the bad, which there is, and the ugly, which there is a lot of going on in Canada today. So I hope you stick around for the full thing. And before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It does really help grow more than you can ever imagine. This is the first video that I'm recording since going to church on Sunday, and I've been making a habit of talking about what my experience is after going to church for, it's been 20 years since my wife and I haven't been to church, and now we're going and we're bringing our kids. And so this is the third time in a row. We went to a church that was different to the one that we went for the first two times, just because we were out of town visiting family, and it was really, really good. The messaging was I was still fighting the emotions. I don't know why. I don't know, because I'm not like emotionally attached to the messaging or the hymns and ahs and the singing, but yeah, when I started to feel like kind of the emotions start to make their way forward, I fight it. I don't know why. Maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe I just don't want to, be seen being emotional in a public place, but I fight it. I'm not ready to I don't know, give myself up in that kind of sense, but it was really good. And the overall messaging, I think just because the pastor, priest, whatever it's called, was talking a little bit more, and maybe we were out of town on like heightened, vacation mode kind of thing. It really resonated a little bit more for us. And it's actually kind of cool for my wife and I to go through this process together. I feel like it's bringing us a little bit closer, if that makes any sense. Anyway, super cool. Looking forward to going back to church next Sunday. Now let's get back into the news. Starting off with a wildfire that's actually out of control in the Northwest Territories, and it's prompting mass evacuations way up north.
Yeah, as the smoke cleared this morning, it's a little bit less than 900 meters away from the community, so it did not encroach on the community through the evening, which is really good news for the community there. Our team is going to be continuing to work to strengthen defenses within the community, to run those water cannons and sprinklers that we've set up, to work with heavy equipment to bolster fuel-free areas, and to find opportunities to strategically attack more of that flame front that's still very close to the community in many parts, stretching across almost 10 kilometers of fire line there.
The weather is changing, so hopefully this is kind of the last tailwind of the forest fires, but this is Fort Providence in the Northwest Territories. An evacuation order was issued for a second community way up north in the Territories on Sunday due to a dangerously close wildfire. After being told to be ready to leave a day earlier, the community of Fort Providence, which has a population of about 600 people, was ordered out because a forecast of strong winds in the afternoon risked flames encroaching on the north side of town, which is absolutely insane. So many different evacuations took place this summertime. Now we're taking a look at the CRA. So Canada's Finance Minister, Philippe François Champagne, announces a 100-day plan to fix CRA service delays, which I find very hard to believe they will actually get done. But if this does happen, that would, I don't know. CRA, everyone hates CRA in Canada, right? That's our IRS, and they are just horrible. You call and you're on hold for hours. It's absolutely horrible. So the finance minister announced on Tuesday that a 100-day plan to reduce delays and improve service standards at the Canada Revenue Agency. In a letter to Parliament, Finance Committee posted on social media X site, François Champagne called taxpayers' current troubles in accessing assistance from the tax agency unacceptable. And so here is the letter. Canadians expect and deserve reliable and timely service from the Canada Revenue Agency. Despite the dedication of hard-working CRA employees, it is increasingly apparent that the agency is not meeting that standard. The service delays and access challenges Canadians are experiencing from CRA call centers are unacceptable. We take this issue very seriously. This is why we're directing the CRA to implement a 100-day plan to strengthen services, improve access, and reduce delays. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. That's a bold thing that I don't know if it will pay off, but we're going to have to wait and see. What is not paying off is Mark Carney getting ready for the House of Canada session, which resumes just like in less than 2 weeks now. Not the coming Monday, but the Monday after that. So Mark Carney just had he hurdled his cabinet in Toronto ahead of the fall setting. Prime Minister Carney headed to Toronto on Tuesday for 2 days of private meetings with his cabinet ahead of the fall legislative sitting. It's Carney's second cabinet retreat since winning the spring election, but the first involving his new chief of staff, former Canadian ambassador to the United States, Marc-Andre Blanchard, and his new principal secretary, David Lametti, the former justice minister. Carney's first cabinet retreat in Meech Lake in Quebec in May was secretive 2-day post-election planning huddle. The Prime Minister's office denied media access to that event, a departure from the practice of Carney's predecessor, Justin Trudeau, whose ministers used to hit the media microphones at cabinet retreats to promote government's plan and priorities. This time, however, media will be allowed to access the site of the cabinet retreat. The Prime Minister's office said the meeting set for Wednesday and Thursday will focus on fast-tracking major project approvals, building more affordable housing, expanding domestic defense industry, and helping sectors battered by the U.S. tariffs and retool and diversity. Justin Trudeau focused too much on diversity. A PMO news release also said that meetings will advance the beginnings of Canada's preparations for review of the CUSMA, which is scheduled for 2026. Carney's government faces a packed agenda this fall with President Donald Trump's roller coaster, global tariff war, and a rare fall budget, which we haven't seen in like 500 days. Or something of the sorts. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he believes Trump will grow more aggressive on trade in the fall and will not wait for the official 2026 date to reopen the CUSMA agreement. Carney said it would have been premature to put out a budget in the spring, given the economic uncertainty caused by Trump's trade war. Experts are predicting a higher federal deficit when Carney highly anticipated first budget release in October. Carney already has signaled he plans to make a defense budgetary priority as Canada seeks to meet the NATO defense spending benchmark of 2% of our GDP, which has now kind of been raised to 5%. So I'm not sure why they're still talking about the 2%. The Prime Minister also has talked about imposing a new level of fiscal discipline, finding cost savings, and balancing the operations side of the budget. Carney's team has for months now promoted new legislation that lets the government fast-track major industry projects for approval and will want to demonstrate progress on that front. So there you go. Lots has happened for Carney, a little bit of panic. We're all going to find out how prepared he truly is in, again, just under 2 weeks, 13 or 12 days. And I suspect that you're going to start to see the news cycle pick up, and you're going to start to see our Prime Minister and Liberal MPs and Conservatives. All of our politicians are going to start to do the media tours and stuff like that very, very soon. But what everyone is really anticipating is the House of Canada face-off, where Pierre Poilievre steps foot back in the ring against Mark Carney, and the two have not actually met in the House of Canada or even met in person. I'm not too sure about that. Let's have a look here at this report.
So the Prime Minister and Pierre Poilievre are going to meet up for the first time in the upcoming parliamentary session, talk about different styles. What can we expect from this matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch this play out because it is the first time that we're seeing Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre in Parliament, in the House of Commons, and really what has become Pierre Poilievre's home turf. We saw how effective he was in the last government at being able to dictate the national conversation. One of the things that Mark Carney has been very adept at doing over the course of this summer and that he was somewhat able to do in the spring session was control the national agenda, really keep the focus directly on Trump, on tariffs, but also on his promises to build national projects, on his ability to cooperate with the provinces. And it dictated the conversation in a manner that was shining, a somewhat good light on him, or at the very least, it wasn't necessarily always a negative light. He had this unique situation where when it came to Donald Trump, polling shows that most Canadians still viewed him as the man in charge, even if he wasn't as necessarily able to get results the way that Canadians had expected or in the timeline that they had expected to date. But despite that, he wasn't being hit or hurt in polling. Where that changes potentially is when you change the conversation, and that's something that Pierre Poilievre was very strong and adept at doing. He was very capable of using those opposition days in the House of Commons to set the national agenda and frame the issues around affordability, around housing, around crime, things that the Conservatives were polling very, very strongly on. So yesterday I was speaking with pollster Nick Nanos, and he was saying that there is the trap that Mark Carney faces in this new session and this new House of Commons when it starts again in 2 weeks. It's facing someone who is very skilled at using those days to dictate the conversation. Have a listen.
Love or hate the guy, he's really good in the House of Commons. This is his place where he usually is very effective. And you know what? He destroyed a previous Liberal Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, in the House of Commons and through his activities. So he should not be underestimated.
And that's going to be the challenge for Mark Carney because this is the first time that they are going up in this new environment. We saw how it played out in the debates, for example, on the campaign trail. Mark Carney was a little quieter. He let Pierre Poilievre really speak and control the moment. How it plays out in the House floor, that's going to be what's interesting to watch.
Colton, thanks for that. We'll stay in touch.
Nobody loves this more than I do, man. Holy smokes. I love these debates. I got a whole other second channel dedicated to these live debates. It's called House of Canada. The link down below in the description. Highly recommend you guys tune in. I live stream every single question period because it is just so much fun. And we're going to have to see how Pierre's comeback really is. There was a moment where after the election, he kind of went into silence, seemed a little depressed, and then he started to kind of make a bit of a comeback in the media, had his own little podcast for like a week or something, and he just wasn't the same. And then he did the by-election, won the by-election, his messaging shifted a little bit, and now it's gone back to just like full attack dog. And so Liberals are very angry because they were hoping that Pierre Poilievre would have this like self-reflection period because they thought that maybe that's what caused him to lose the election or something. And turns out that the only reflection he's looking to do is to see the reflection of Mark Carney crying when he out debates him every single day in the House of Canada. I mean, Justin Trudeau, for crying out loud, he quit because of Pierre. Like, if Pierre wasn't the leader of the opposition, if it was somebody boring like O'Toole or, I mean, even Andrew Scheer, like Andrew Scheer's a smart ass. He's a funny guy, but he's not Pierre, right? Pierre is not somebody you want to be on the receiving end of a debate with. And I truly believe that Pierre Poilievre made Justin Trudeau resign because of just how aggressive and how consistent and persistent he really became. And we're gonna see the same thing against Mark Carney. So it's gonna be entertaining. At least I'm hoping it's going to be entertaining. So make sure you guys subscribe to the House of Canada channel so you don't miss a single one of those debates because they are a lot of fun. Then we got to take a look at the fat pig with rabies, the Liberal Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He had this to say about Donald Trump earlier.
You know, folks, we're in a battle like we've never seen against President Trump. You know, President Trump, in my opinion, wants to destroy our country, get every manufacturer they possibly can down to the U.S. And I'm hearing it, I'm feeling it right now, but we need to stand up. We have two choices: either roll over and get run over by this guy, and that would be it, or we stand up and fight like we've never fought before. I take the latter approach.
Stand up like you've never fought before. I mean, this guy is just freaking crazy, dude. No, there's no standing up to America. It's a weird LARPing technique that the liberals have used, and it just comes back to bite people in the ass. But we have to take a look at what got us here in the first place. Mark Carney is definitely a contributing factor to the anti-American rhetoric. Doug Ford obviously plays a pretty significant role. Pound for pound, he's been a big shit talker for a Canadian politician about America. But the real reason we're here is because of Justin Trudeau.
It was the centerpiece of the Canadian trade war response.
Our tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment sooner.
The nearly $30 billion worth of counter tariffs slapped on the Americans, which Canadian officials said were specifically designed to hurt key Republican areas. Orange juice from Donald Trump's Florida, appliances built in Vice President J.D. Vance's state of Ohio, and motorcycles from Pennsylvania, a swing state that broke for Trump in 2024. It was a strategy that Mark Carney campaigned on hard.
We are fighting these tariffs with counter tariffs of our own, the American tariffs. Tariffs that will cause maximum pain in the United States, but have minimum impact here in Canada.
Canada-U.S. trade.
But nearly 6 months on, the vast majority of Canadian counter tariffs were dropped on Monday. The Prime Minister signaling when the announcement was made that it was time for Canada to take its elbows down.
You know, when you're late in the game, dropping the gloves and taking the extra penalty might not be the best thing to do. And that's the situation we're in now.
Pre-September 1st, over 1,800 items were tariffed at 25% by the Canadian government. Food, lumber, clothing, furniture, just some of the goods impacted. Labor Day forward, only 313 goods were tariffed at 25%, exclusively steel, aluminum, and autos. Less than the 50% tariff the U.S. has on steel and aluminum.
The best deal.
This is the biggest Canadian concession made yet. After the U.S. ambassador told Global News, Canadian counter tariffs on CUSMA goods were a significant stumbling block in getting a deal done.
Canada has decided that, that's fair game. We will, call into question CUSMA.
Mackenzie joins us now. Mac, what are the political stakes for Mark Carney in dropping the counter tariffs?
Well, they're extremely high, Eric. We all remember Carney's elbows up slogan from the campaign, saying at every rally that Donald Trump wants to break us so he can own us. But so far, Carney's actions as Prime Minister haven't lined up with that. He's been very complimentary of the president in person, and not only dumped these tariffs, but got rid of the digital services tax, another big American complaint, and in exchange, he got nothing. In fact, tariffs have actually increased since Carney has become Prime Minister. So it looks like the Liberals are trying to play the long game, maybe hoping the Supreme Court rules some of these tariffs are illegal, and then focusing everything in on the 2026 Mexico-Canada-U.S. free trade deal renegotiation. But if that doesn't work out, that could end Carney's honeymoon fairly quickly, Eric, since a recent Angus Reid poll has nearly 2/3 of Canadians wanting Ottawa to take a hard line with the president.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that Supreme Court and any court, any judge, no matter what they say, no matter how much LARPing they try to exert, there will not be a denial of these tariffs. I know that a court did deem most of Trump's tariffs illegal, but it'll be reviewed, and it's Trump. It's the president of the United States. You can't just say, well, you can't do that, Mr. President. You fucking can't. He's the most powerful person in the entire world. It's a national security. It's an issue. This is why I did it. Get lost. You don't like it? Well, then how about we start looking at you. We look at you. Well, mortgage fraud. What did you do? What do you got going on in your life, right? Throw you in jail. So it's just like, it's here to stick, right? That's the unfortunate part. And that's going to come up a lot with Pierre Poilievre debating Mark Carney, and he's going to say that it got a lot worse since Mark Carney took office, which is insane to think about. That under Justin Trudeau, life was more affordable than what it is with Mark Carney. I can't believe I've never say those words. Not that I want to go back to those days, but of course, we're going to have to see how this does play out, because historically speaking, a minority government who is just shy of a majority government, because they're only a few seats basically away from a majority government, they usually call an election in the first 18 to 24 months. I mean, that's kind of like historically how it's gone. So maybe we're even looking at an earlier election, which is crazy because we're all so tired of it. But we're tired of not the election. We're tired of the wrong people being in power. So again, now that it's going back into Pierre's main stage. This is where Pierre thrives and the Conservatives thrive. There's a real opportunity for the narrative to start shifting away from, this like pro Carney thing that apparently half the country or more than half the country is on board with, to realizing how corrupt, how evil, how manipulative, how ridiculous the Liberals truly are. Again, we're going to find out more in less than 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love to know what you guys think down below about any of the topics that were covered. And if you haven't yet already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn post notifications on, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.